Hi everybody. That sounded so funny. I'm here to narrate or I'm here to bring you another process video. This one is a picture of my grandfather on my mother's side. Um, I actually don't know any information on the picture. I've been trying to get information about it, and so I just figured I'd scrapbook it, and, and I use the This and That collection by Lori Whitlock. And here I'm going through any of the journaling cards to see if I find any that I want. I went through all these little note cards that I cut up, and I was trying to look at the borders to see if I was going to use any of them. I went through some embellishments and I picked out some stuff like that Open Road. It's a collection from Open Road from Crate Paper. I used that radio, and then that the turquoise cardboard pieces, chipboard pieces. I pointed out the home chipboard, but I ended up using the family one instead. You'll see it later in the video. I pulled out other elements that I thought would go together with the layout, and I ended up not using any of them. So, or not many of them at all. I just mainly stuck to the elements in the kit that I bought this in. Um, so I'm looking for a couple of sheets of paper. I knew that I wanted to use that cut apart. That's also a cut apart from the sheet from the collection. And um, I wanted to see what would go. And here I'm inking the edges with the Ground Espresso Distress ink from Tim Holtz. And I'm trying to measure it so that I can cut up a piece of these papers. I always want to try to tear up the pieces or haphazardly cut them, but I don't know why I don't let go of that control to try and be precise. I feel like I'm not going to have it look right. But this, I don't have very many pictures of my grandfather, and so I wanted this to kind of look okay. In the beginning, you saw pictures of the finished layout, and I did move a couple of the elements around. I guess one in particular was the radio. It was on the left-hand side, and there'll be another picture right at the end, a whole picture, where you'll see that I moved the radio from the right-hand side to the left-hand side over by that journaling card. And I use this Mambi cut apart. It's a 4x6 quote. Uh, the journaling card is from Mambi, and it's a quote from Abraham Lincoln, and it says something about, in the end, it's not the, I think it's the one where it says, oh, well, I can look at it because I have a picture. And, and in the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. I think my grandfather died when he was in his 50s, but he lived a life. He lived, um, I don't want to say tumultuous, but he did go through a lot. From what I know, he took care of all his, he wasn't the oldest, but he took care of all his nine brothers and sisters. He was a baker, from where I know. He was also a boxer. He did bullfighting back in the day in Mexico, and that's where he's from. And I mean, there's things that I've heard, and I've heard stories, but, and even growing up with my grandfather, I really didn't know who he was. And it's really sad because when my grandfather died, I was maybe in my late teens, early 20s. And he was a man of very few words. And the words that he did say, I remember, were things like stay in school, and if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I mean, just being around the man was, he had some sort of reverence, and you could tell that he lived his life fully. Um, and I miss him. I do. But here I am. I'm gonna go back to the layout. I put up those. I picked out some of those journaling cards, those little white. cards on the ends where I picked out words that I felt were that resonated to me about him. And some of those words were special and brave, remember, what else? Handsome, strong, and love. And I used the Copic marker. After I used the ground espresso, I don't know why I picked up the marker and I thought that was going to be easier. And so I started darkening all the edges of all the papers with the Copic marker, which was E79 Cashew. That's the color that I used. If anybody needed to know, I used mainly some cut up papers in the beginning because I figured I might as well just use scraps to get them out of the way and just try and have whole sheets in that collection. Um, the cut apart elements were like whole sheets that I just cut up so that I can also use them since I didn't have a it included a sticker sheet with alphas and then an elements sheet of like ephemera, but I didn't have any kind of like cardboard ephemera or chipboard ephemera foam, and that's why I went into my own stash to look for stuff. I corner punched the Mambi journaling card to make it look like I think it's the ticket, like a ticket. It just because I don't know why I thought of tickets when I saw the other yellow journaling card is a telegram one, so I don't know why. I just felt like it needed to have ticket rounded edges. The picture was one of those pictures. I scanned that photo, or I think I might have screenshotted the picture with a phone, and I just kept it through the years like that. So this is a copy of the original photo, and it was one of those photographs that had the edges rounded already. That's how it came. And so this is just a copy of the photo through my phone that I printed. It's not an original or anything like that because I really mess up this photo during the process of me putting together the layout. I'm just arranging the cards, and if this video is too long, I apologize. I tried to cut it up. I tried to cut out pieces as much as I could. I fiddled with these cards, and so I cut some of this off. I fiddled too much with the papers, and I cut some of that off. And I couldn't, it was like nearly 20 minutes, so I cut it down about 5 minutes worth of just like shuffling paper. I cut where I could, but I ended up using one of the borders, and I cut that in half. And like here, I could have cut that part off and I didn't, and I should have. But I'm finally deciding that this is where I want to lay down the cards, and I wanted to get them right. I wanted to make sure that you could see the words, and so I just lined them up to where they look like they're stacked or just kind of thrown on the paper very meticulously. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gluing down the words. So, sorry, my husband came home and he was opening the door, and that was what was screeching. But I'm finally gluing down everything that was left uh, in on the layout. I finally decided that that's what I was gonna try and do. I also wanted to say that I did, I was able to see my grandfather bake. One of the last jobs I remember him having, one of the memories I distinctly remember having was this grocery store called Food City. And I remember going to the back of the store and actually seeing my grandfather bake bread. It was, it was like a type of baguette or French, it's Mexican bread. It was Mexican bread where you can make sandwiches with them, or it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's like torta bread. I don't know if anybody can understand that, but I remember seeing him, and he had like a long, it was like a paddle, and he was going into the oven, and he just did like a shimmy, like he shimmied the paddle under the bread, and he kind of gave it a little shake, and it flipped all the bread over, and then he grabbed it from the oven and he put it in these big bins that they dropped it in so that they could get it ready to sell. And it's just one of those vivid memories that I have of him, or at least of him ever baking. I never, my mom tells me, and I heard lots of stories, they owned a bakery in Juarez, and it was part of, it was in the front of the house, and the bakery was in the front, and they lived in the back of the bakery front or whatever. It was a house, and they just made it into a bakery, and he would cook sweetbread. And my aunts and uncles and my mom, they all worked the bakery, and they helped my grandfather bake bread. Um, and he loved to garden. I remember that was another memory that I had of him, that he liked to grow trees, like different fruit trees, and it was, I mean, he was just so cool. I don't know what to, like, he used to write, and he would write poetry. He even went on a TV show, uh, you know, because he won some sort of radio prize, and then he got to go on TV because of this poem that he had written. And there was a few that I read, and just a man of many talents, because he also liked to paint, and I like to think that some of that's where I get my creative side from, or that's what I like to think. But you know, um, I just I just really love the guy, and I'm sure he would have really liked to have seen my two kids, and mm, he would have gotten a kick out of them, and how much the boys want to do things. And I remember him, and sometimes I think like, wow, I wish he would have been here to see this, or to see my kids. And that's probably why I haven't written any journaling about it, about the photo or him in general, because it's hard to put into words. Um, how to feel, or just to put into words what you're feeling about a person. And there you see me putting the radio. I digress. I put the radio on the left hand side, and then in the end, when you see the picture one more time, you'll see that I did move it to the right, over by the quote and the white cards up at the top right. But yeah, so I just want to know more about my grandfather. So this is the layout that I made, and it's the first one I've made. I have like two other photos for sure, and once again, there's like very little I know. So if anybody has any suggestions or comments about what ideas or prompts I can use in order to have journaling, that would be greatly appreciated. Um, Here, I'm trying to get that journaling card that's right behind the telegraph uh, one that just fell out. I had such a hard time. I wanted to include that one important word, but I felt like it wasn't being held up necessarily because it was at a slant. So if you see there's a little brown ticket also that I keep fudging with, that one, I finally figured out to stand it on its end, like standing it up, and then I felt like that kind of supported the important little tab too. Um, and that's pretty much it. There's that family chipboard word, and I put those chipboard blue hearts, and here I'm cutting just the ends that are sticking out of the page so that they can fit in the file folder. Oh, one of the things that I did end up doing that isn't pictured is I found a large Heidi Swapp wood veneer that they sold at Joann's a year or two ago, and it was cut out and it says remember. I ended up putting that on the bottom right hand corner, and that's pretty much it with the layout. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to put them down below. Thumbs up if you like the video or the layout or what I narrated. And thanks for watching. Bye.